Yo, what's good, everybody? This is your host, Tevin Hero, with Black Women I Hear You podcast with my lovely co-host, DD Cruz. We are back live. Happy New Year's to everybody. I hope all is well with everybody. Positive vibes and energy going towards your way, because we're going to need it this year, because this year is already starting off in some craziness. All right, DD, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Happy New Year's to you, mate.
Happy New Year.
How you feeling today?
Feeling blessed and highly favored. What about you, brother?
Amen. Me too. Same here. Feeling balanced. You know. I feel like my energy's back in one piece now and all that stuff.
All right.
Right. So let's get right into it, man. So me and Didi talked about this, and we both came to the conclusion that there would be a good topic to talk about, because I still feel like it's relevant, and I definitely want to hear a black woman's perspective on just being a black single mother today in this society. Like, what is the state of the black single mom in today's society? Like, how hard is it, or is it even any hardships? Well, I feel like it's hardships raising children anyway. So as a single mom, Didi, what hardships do you experience raising, your two beautiful children, by themselves? By yourself.
Right. Well, there's a lot of layers to that. Mm-hmm. And I say that because when I first became a single mother in college, my oldest son.
Right.
So my oldest son, he's now, of course, 27 and on his own, married and all that jazz. But at that time, in the 90s, I was single mom, in college. And so that dynamic was a little different. One, because I had family support at that time. Mm-hmm. I was in sophomore in college, and, my mother and my godmother, they, pretty much took care of my son while I was in college.
Right.
And so that was a big help. Having family support is a big difference.
Oh, yes.
Now, yeah. So moving forward with my two younger children now, mm-hmm. I am older, and we're in a whole different millennium. And I don't have that family support anymore. Because my mother is deceased, and my godmother, she's in North Carolina, and I'm down here in Georgia now.
Right.
And of course, I don't have that family support like I did when they were around.
Right.
So it's a lot harder not having that support as I did before, when I can really lean on somebody to watch after the kids, or to, slide me a few dollars, or slide me some food or something like that for me and the kids. That makes a big difference. But being like literally on my own, just me and the kids,
right.
I had to depend more heavily on community assistance, whether that be food banks or social services or what have you. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, I've made friends, I've had friendships develop over time, and, sometimes my kids could go visit with the friends or what have you, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same, like family, you know what I mean?
Right. And why do you think that is? Like, why is the mindset different now compared to back then? As far as like the support of a single mother, because one thing that's out here, especially in the black community, it's like a lot of black young single moms, like who are in their early 20s. Honestly, you have even teenagers who are, single and raising a kid or kids by themselves. So why do you think the mindset in the community effort to help a black single mom is different now?
Well, it's kind of like, to each his own kind of thing. It's like, we're kind of more divided now than we ever were before, because it was more community, more family, more village. Mm-hmm. But as time went on, and different people moving in and out of the so-called village, moving in and out of the so-called community, we really didn't know who to trust. And then this whole pedophile thing started exploding. And, all these different elements starting to play a part. And so you just kind of stay to yourself, keep kids closer to yourself, that kind of thing.
Right.
And not having that is like we've grown out of community. We've grown out of family, and everything is just kind of displaced.
Yeah, that's true. And I like how you said that we just grown out of community. Like that community effort to help, raise a kid is just gone these days in the Black community. Because I can remember back in my day where, we in the neighborhood, like, and we made like close friends in the neighborhood. Like our close friend's mom was like our mom, And even back then, like it was a few friends' moms who my mom gave permission to, like if I'm acting out of line, like you could spank my hand or whatever.
Right.
Of course, there's none of that these days because I feel like everybody's sensitive, and it's just a lot of tedious stuff, and just like you said, we're just not as united and as a community. Excuse me, like we was back in the day, and that's kind of sad because I feel like it does take a village to raise a kid. And honestly, I feel like a lot of moms, like single moms, especially like the younger Black moms, I feel like some have like a pride issue with that. They probably had like different circumstances of how the baby came about, and now the family kind of turned their back on them because like I'm 20, not in school, definitely can't work now because I gotta raise a little man, a little girl now. So now it's like, okay, well, forget all y'all, I'm gonna try to do this myself. And that's when like government assistance come in and stuff like that. And I don't knock that, because if it's about putting your child in a better environment and situation, I'm all for it.
Right, and that's quite understandable. And getting back to the whole pride issue, it's like, especially the younger moms, don't want to ask for help, or if her parents are overbearing and want to take over and not let her be a mom per se, or show her how to be a mom, but just take over, then there's a power struggle.
Right.
A power struggle with that, and about how she want her kids raised, or if the parents or extended family disagree with how she's raising her child, or he. There are a lot of single dads out here now, and so it's a power struggle. And then there's another problem, because what you let baby boy do, grandma not letting do, or vice versa, and then there's a whole bunch of confusion. And so, people like pull away from that. And so, when you pull away from family or pull away from your support system, you're missing out on that training.
Right.
Because even though people say, well, when you become a mom, it's instinct, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, to a certain point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's depending on how young you are.
Right.
You're still growing up yourself. Because even though I had a child in my late young adulthood or whatever, I was a college student. Yeah, I was an adult, but there was still a learning curve that I had to have. But some of these moms are in their late teens, sometimes early teens, having a child, and they are, still learning and growing themselves.
Right.
And that's really hard to raise a child that way, because you're still trying to get out of your youthhood and to get into adulthood. But now you're being thrown into parenthood on top of that. So you really don't have that fair chance to really be the parent that you really need to be.
Right.
Especially if you don't have that good support system to help coach you and train you how to be a good parent.
Exactly. And I love that you said that, because like what you just said, it's almost like a parent as you go type of thing. Like you just taking it day to day, because you didn't have the opportunity, and you didn't give yourself like the time to enjoy adulthood, like make your mistakes first, then learn from it later, so where you can be, kind of improved mentally and emotionally about how you go about things. But now, like you said, you throw parenting on top of that. Now it's like, okay, I gotta learn how to be a woman and learn how to better myself. Now I gotta worry about raising my daughter or my son, or sons or daughters. So yeah, that can be very difficult. And I was thinking like, cool, what brought to my attention while you was talking, Didi, I used to be an after school teacher, right? And and I see all these moms pick them up, and for whatever reason, I rarely saw dads picking up, but the point I was making is like, think about if you're a single mom, right? And you gotta work 10, 11, 12-hour days, right? So your kid is in school for what, 8 hours, right? So you're still at work. You don't have the support system for a family member or a close friend of the family or whatever to come pick your son or daughter up so, they can take care of them. So now you throw them in the daycare or after school program. So you kind of placing strangers who you barely know to kind of help you parent your child, if you get what I mean. Because if you're working all the time, then you're not going to be parenting like that as well. You know what I mean? Because you're always at work, you're always tired. So who's raising your kid? The schools, his or her peers, the after school teachers. Like, that's where the child is developing habits and the way of thinking, stuff like that. Because especially if you're a single mom, you're too tired. Like, by the time, like, I saw plenty of times when the mom was like, they ask their kid how the day was. We're gonna get something to eat, then we're going home. I'm gonna look over your homework, then it's bedtime. Like, there's no talking, like there's no like connection being built, because it's like you've been away for so long, so now I got you. We gotta do the same thing tomorrow. So I'm too tired to want to parent you right now. So I'm just gonna feed you and tuck you in.
Yeah.
So have you ever had to go through that when you was like raising your kids?
Yeah, so like I said, I had more of that experience when I had my first child.
Right.
Now, once I graduated college, and then I moved to another city away from my mom, and I had to bring my son with me. So I'm working for this big corporation. I'm a single mom. Most of these people are single or married people.
Right.
And there was an instance, and I felt really bad. I felt really in a bad position because I was on call for a project. And so having my son there at home, and of course I had my laptop and stuff like that from work, but I couldn't get the system back up and running with my laptop. And so I had to go into the office. I said, oh my God, my son is sleeping. It's in the middle of the night. I had nobody to watch him. So I had to take my child out of the bed, pack up his little stuff, and take my equipment and everything into the office. 20 minutes
tough.
Down the road, in the middle of the night, to an empty building.
Right.
And I had to go into the office, and it was a very uncomfortable feeling for me, and I did not like it.
Right.
And so at that point, I was like, I had talked to my manager. I said, look, can you put me on another project? Because this on-call thing ain't working.
Right.
Because, I don't have that support to just leave my child in the middle of the night with somebody. I didn't even have a boyfriend living in or nobody. I didn't have that.
Right.
So it was just me. And so you have to make these changes and sacrifices for your child because they can't defend themselves. They can't take care of themselves.
Right.
And you hear all these horror stories where the parent done left the kids there by himself, or with God knows who, and then some crazy happened, and it just leaves you in a very awkward position.
So true.
And so, you have to fend for yourself the best way you can. And sometimes you might have to take a little other restaurant job where you can work a certain number of hours and then you can be off, to be with your child, but then you don't have the income like you need to really survive. So it's like a catch-22.
That's so deep. And I want to give a shout out, but just because you said, I want to give a shout out to you and all single black mothers out there for the silent sacrifices that go unnoticed that y'all have to make just to, spend time with y'all kids and feed y'all kids and make sure y'all kids are always safe, man. And I want to give a shout out to my kids' moms as well. I got dope kids' moms, they take care of their business and they always make sure, my kids are in a safe environment. So I want to give a shout out to y'all, man, because y'all sacrifices go unnoticed. Like, we really don't know the type of sacrifice. It's something little like that, like you said, for work. You know what I mean? Like, ain't no telling how many single moms had to miss a couple days because they couldn't watch or they had nobody to watch their kid or whatever. Like, it's hard out there. Hard out here for y'all. Yeah. It's hard out there for y'all. And I really feel that, So let me ask this. We're gonna get a little personal. So where was the father of these kids? Like, what was his position in your life by the time the babies came along?
Right. So with my first son, my oldest son in college, I met his father in college.
Right.
And so he was from out of town. So he was attending college in North Carolina, but he was from Florida. So he was up there on a football scholarship, basically.
Right.
And so when things kind of got turned out of the way for him with his education, his classes and stuff like that got all messed up, he had to go back home to Florida. So that left me there in North Carolina with his son, living with my mom. And so, he went back to Florida, and we tried to work out this whole child support thing, just doing it amongst ourselves kind of thing. And, he tried to do the best he could, but that kind of got thrown off. And then we had to go through child support, blah, 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 and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of doing the whole long-distance parenting thing because when my son was like 4 or whatever, that's when he started to fly back and forth to North Carolina and Florida by himself.
Right.
So in that time during the 90s, it was kind of okay to do the, stewardess would look out for the baby and stuff like that, make sure he got to the right place, And so for about 5 to 10 years of his life, he was like traveling like that.
Right.
And so now, even with me being apart from his dad and stuff, like I said, they would send him clothes and gifts and things like that, and of course a little bit of child support he was able to do. He did that kind of thing. But then it got to a point when he was getting up in age where I started to see this whole attitude thing start to change. He was a preteen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we got a little issue here. And so, but I had my godfather around and my godmama still around and trying to help me kind of rear him, but they were starting to get up in age themselves.
Right.
And so I was starting to like this new dude in my life, and it was getting serious and whatever, and we had gotten married, but there was an issue with himself that I didn't know about, and that's a whole nother story. So I was seeing some stuff in my son that I didn't quite like, and so I confided in his father.
Right.
I was like, look, here's the deal, here's X, Y, and Z, stuff is going on, and I really need you. Can you take our son and raise him? And then we'll just kind of flip it where I'm sending and I'm, taking care of him that way and stuff like that. And he would just come visit me for the summer and stuff.
Right.
So he was a good father. He agreed to do that. He took his son and he raised him up until he graduated high school, basically. And he did an excellent job. And I give him props with that because it was like a rare thing for a man to stand up and take his son and raise him on his own. So he was literally a single dad.
Right.
And he had a support system. He had his brother and he had his mother helping him with our child, So that was a benefit too, because he had support, right?
Right.
And he was stable. And I wasn't the stable one. I was jumping from job to job, moving around, blah, blah, blah. And I knew this was not good for my child.
Right.
And so having a father that was stable, he worked for law enforcement, he had his own place and this, that, and the third. He had his head on straight. So he could take over where I couldn't. So those are another sacrifice that if you know you got, that child has a real good father that can step in and do something like that, you're not being a negligent mom by letting your child go. It's being responsible.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's some women who know they ain't got it together and they struggling and trying to hold it together and they know that man is a good man. He just don't want you.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes.
But if you know he's a good man, let him do his job.
Right.
Be a father to your child,
Right.
And I don't know if I got off on a tangent. I don't know if I answered your question or not. But
you did. And
that was the situation with that child. Now, for the other 2 children with the man I married, oh no, that was a whole different story. That was the opposite. It was a flip side to that.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, he was he was on drugs and all kinds of stuff going on with him, and I didn't know until after the fact.
Right.
So once I had my 2 kids, and once I finally separated and divorced from him, I was back on my own with 2 kids.
Right.
And so moving around, bouncing around here, there, and everywhere. And my mother, she was getting up in age and was not well, and
Right.
And I was bouncing around. And here we go again, back in the same cycle. I wasn't stable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I did finally, have a decent job and was stable, I was living with other family members.
Right.
But then their situation changed where they had to move, and I was like, oh my God, this is not working. We need to really get somewhere that we can call home.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though I had a job that was good and all that kind of stuff, I wasn't happy. Because I'm an artistic person. I've been, doing acting for like 20 years and doing that kind of thing, and I really wanted to pursue my career further, so I wanted to move to Atlanta.
Right.
So I cashed in my 401k at the university, and I packed my kids up, and we headed to Georgia.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother story, what I mean?
Right.
But once I got here and was staying with different people, and we were bouncing around this, that, and the third, and then eventually, I got a pretty much stable job, and I got another place for us to live and different things like that. So the journey is really real talk on a whole lot of levels. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I was saying about having that support system is very important. But if you don't have that support system, you have to create one, like through your church or your organization. If you're Greek and have sorority sisters and frat brothers or whatever that you can trust, you have to establish some type of support system, because you cannot do it all by yourself.
That's true.
You need help.
Right.
I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are making 6 figures as a single mom. You still got to have somebody there.
True.
You got to have somebody there for your kids to play backup, pinch hit,
Yeah.
Maybe you at work, like I was talking about that other scenario, that you can't get off, or you got to do stuff. So you're always going to need that support. God made family, and then with the whole, different things happening to the family, got separated, the dad going one way, mom another way, and it's a whole lot that happened, And so once that degrades, that system has to be in place somewhere. It has to.
It has to, yeah. It has to be restored, And that just goes back to just being understanding and just loving one another. Like, that's what we lacking. Like, we refuse to understand one another, and then that makes us not want to love each other. So that's a whole different conversation in itself. So this is gonna be the last topic, excuse me. Now let's talk about, because I've seen, like, it's a lot of black single moms out there doing their thing, raising the kids, rather they're doing a co-parenting thing, or it's really just them solo dolo. That's cool. Now we do have some, you probably know some, I've definitely witnessed some. You do have some single moms out there who really want help but don't know how to go about it, maybe because they're too prideful and stuff like that. And you also have the type of moms who really play keep away with their kids, because I've seen single black moms with ugly spirits who really play keep away with their kids from their father, and really want to make it a point, like, I did all this by myself. I want all this credit of how I raised my kids. And especially when it comes down to boys, they definitely do that with boys that I've witnessed. Now I might be wrong, but for what I've witnessed, I've seen that a lot with single moms with boys. So I want to ask you, is it hard? I know it's hard, period, just raising a kid, but do you think it's more hard to raise a son by yourself as a black woman?
I say yes. Because a male needs another male to teach him how to be a man.
Right.
Just like a little girl needs her mom to teach her how to be a mom.
Right.
Because as he grows up, there's certain levels that I don't know about that little thing y'all got going on. You know what I'm saying? And it's like with the dad, he don't understand about what she about to enter into and had to deal with her monthly and all the different emotional changes she going through, and not only physical but emotional. It's a lot. It's uncharted territory that we as the opposite sex parents don't really know. We don't know that by experience. I mean, we can read a book, we can ask questions and different things, but it's different coming from that same sex parent to know how to navigate them through what they're going to have to deal with as a boy or as a girl. They really do need that. And I think, now, I'm not going to speak against the other, women who have raised sons and haven't had a problem. They know how to keep them in line. They know how to snatch them up and do whatever they need to do, blah, blah, blah. That's the individual themselves. But as far as me, it's hard because I was never really the heavy-handed parent or heavy disciplinarian. I was always a free spirit and loving because as a child growing up, I never felt real love from my parents, and so now that I'm a mom, it's like the tables have turned and I know what it feels like as a child not to feel love. And so maybe I poured on a little bit too thick, loving on my babies, but that's just me. And I've never found a way to be able to really deal with my children heavy-handed like that. Now, like I said, some women don't have a problem with that. And some women have, as a single mom, raised strong males in their household. You know what I'm saying? And I give them much props for being able to do that. As far as this mother, no, I really needed help with my sons. Now, my first son, he had help from his father, but the second son did not have what he needed from his father, and this child went crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That child went crazy.
And crazy in what ways, if you don't mind me asking? Like, just like showing out, trying to fight, or like what?
Everything. He was constantly angry, depressed, breaking the law, in jail now. So I'm like, we on pins and needles about have my baby coming home. But he has lived a journey without his father being there for him. Teaching him how to be a man and stuff like that. Now, he had my older cousin, whom we lived with for a period of time, a male, but my son hated him. He couldn't stand him.
My goodness.
It was a whole lot of family strife going on. A whole lot of family strife. And then, come to find out that my son was abused by a male figure in that family. And I didn't find out about it until years later. And so the damage has been done. No father around to protect him. No father around to, say, son, what's up with you? And, let's deal with this. Because there's an unspoken language between males that they just know something. And they don't even really have to say what it is for them to know what it is. If I'm speaking out of turn, tell me.
Oh, no, you definitely not. You definitely not, man. You speaking the truth right now.
Yeah. And so, and with my daughter, it's real crazy because it's like we're like two peas in a pod. It's like she loving on me, I'm loving on her. She's spoiled rotten. What I mean? She don't want to leave mama. Because I just love on her so much, and she's just soaking it in. But it's a growing process for both sides of the fence, really. But, if I still had that strong family connection, like with my mom around, my godfather, my godmama, my kids probably wouldn't be spoiled like they are. They'd be on the better side of spoiled, I guess you could say. It's really tough. And, like with today's world right now, how things are going crazy, and you got to talk to your kids about the black-white issue, racial relations and stuff, and you got watch the neighborhood you go into, watch how you dress, watch how you talk to people, how you look at them, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really just hard to just be a parent on both sides, dad or mom these days, because of the society we live in. Man, we live in a toxic society, and we're trying to. It's hard for us to be humane day to day, and then we gotta throw in the fact to try to raise a little seed, like a little one, like. and prepare them for this, like, and then it's like, it's not like things are getting better. It seems like things gonna get worse by the time they're starting to realize, like, oh, okay, so this how this operates and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just tough all the way around, man. But we're gonna definitely close it right there. Didi, you definitely spoke some real wisdom today. So one last thing, Didi, then we're gonna close it up for real. So do you have any advice for any single black mom out there who's struggling? Do you have anything positive or any advice to say to them today?
Oh yeah, definitely swallow your pride. You just gotta suck it up.
Right.
Because if you need help, you need help. That don't mean you're gonna stay in that place needing help all the time for years on end. But ask. If you see another single mom look like she's, doing a little bit better than you, talk to them. Say, well, how do you do that? I'm having this issue. What kind of advice can you give me? And you may establish a friendship. You may establish another support system. Like, say, if you need to go somewhere, then that mom can watch your baby. And if she need to go somewhere, you can watch her baby. To have an interconnection with another parent,
right.
to build a foundation, because you have to have it. You have to have a good support system. You
Right.
really do. And so you have to learn how to seek out help, learn how to make good connections with people and feel people out, like from your organizations, like a church or your frats or your sorors or whatever, and make a good connection. You don't need everybody. You just need a certain somebody or a certain 2 or 3 people that you can really rely on to have your back. Because you need that. You can't do this alone. Sometimes you feel alone, like you're on an island by yourself. I know what that's like.
Right.
But you have to learn how to make those relational connections. And on the next piece of advice, like I was saying earlier, if you know that child's father is a good man and he's trying to do the best he can, and he might not be able to, give you all these lavish things or whatever, and he might be married or might be in another relationship,
Right.
don't cause problems. Don't cause problems between him and his other person. Don't do that. Be respectful. You can get a lot farther in life being respectful.
Amen.
Yeah. And, be respectful. Don't have him having to come over to the apartment to get the kids or whatever, and know he got another lady friend and stuff. And if you was the other person, you'd feel some type of way about him having always run down there to see you and the kids, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Be respectful.
Right.
Take them to him, and if you have an issue with his significant other, then talk to him like a man. Directly, like, look, I feel some type of way. I think, this going on when my child goes over there,
Right.
and my child be acting funny and stuff when they come home, and I need to,
Right.
have open conversations. Don't bully them. Don't be in their face and having all this attitude, because you're going to just bring more problems. And you just got to regulate yourself. It might be that your, baby daddy might be trite. He might be. But if you know he's a good one, treat him as such.
Right.
And if you need some kind of extra help or whatever, and you know he's a good man, just talk to him like a man. Say, look, this, that, and the third going on, and I need some extra help. Can you help me? And if you say no, you say no. Don't be jumping all down his throat, because you ain't, like my mama told me, you can get more flies with honey. You ain't gonna get nothing extra with vinegar.
Okay.
So you want to be real sweet, you want to be real respectful, and you really want to build solid relationships with other parents.
Yes.
So that's pretty much what I can say. And the last on this, with me being a believer in Christ helped me through it all.
Amen.
If you don't have no relationship with Christ, you gotta get one. That's my personal advice. You can take it or leave it.
There you go. We're gonna drop the mic on that. Peace out.
Okay.